Hey guys, welcome back to the BuzWeaver channel. And in our second breaking news story for today from the New York Post, Daniel Penny acquitted in subway chokehold death of Jordan Neely, sparking applause uproar in New York City courtroom. So very interesting how this will and can unfold. A Manhattan jury has cleared Daniel Penny of criminal wrongdoing in the chokehold death of Jordan Neely on a crowded subway, a caught on video killing that sparked fierce debate over the city's mental health system and crime underground. The courtroom erupted in applause as the panelists acquitted Penny of criminally negligent homicide, which could have put him behind bars for up to 4 years, and Neely's chokehold death aboard a crowded Uptown F train in May 2023. We, the jury, have come to a unanimous decision on count 2, the foreperson of the jury told the courtroom. And of course, as we've always talked about, even when it comes to Judge Merchan and Judge Engoron, the jury must come to a unanimous decision as opposed to those particular cases, but that's a side note that we'll get to here shortly. Penny immediately broke out a huge smile and turned to hug defense attorney Thomas 𝐀𝐻𝐿, even as Neely's father, Andre Zachary, was escorted from the courtroom. "Race this effing country," one Black Lives Matter supporter yelled as she left the room. Another Neely supporter turned to Penny, screamed, "It's a small world, buddy," before leaving the room. So it's interesting how this is all turning out. And of course, with Donald Trump's unanimous victory in the election, maybe these activist groups aren't as prolific or have as much of influence as they used to. So it may just be select groups of individuals, the most hardened, I guess, of the activists that may act out on this outcome as a result of what happened here with Daniel Penny. And we see here also from the New York Post, "Dear New York voters, don't fail the next Daniel Penny and Jordan Neely. Oust DA Braggs and soft on crime radicals." I couldn't agree more with that. I mean, I couldn't agree more. A jury rightly has found Daniel Penny not responsible for Jordan Neely's death. It is the voters of New York who are. Okay, so I guess they're guilty for having elected Andrew Cuomo, Assembly Speaker Carl Hasty, and Adrian Adams. Adrian Adams. So let's see. And of course, in May 2023, Neely, a schizophrenic high on K2, which is a synthetic cannabis, was railing violently at passengers in a crowded subway car. Witnesses say they feared for their lives. Neely's 42 previous arrests, including his 2021 subway assault on a 67-year-old stranger, breaking his nose and fracturing his orbital bone. At the same time of his death following Penny's restraint, Neely had an arrest warrant arising from that case. So, again, we don't want to dismiss the fact that this young man lost his life as a result of his actions, his mental health, and being on K2. But it is important that, we have the ability for individuals to be good Samaritans and try to help out people. And, of course, many of the witnesses that they mentioned here said that they, were threatened by Neely, and that they were glad that Daniel Penny did take some action, that someone, actually tried to do something. So here we'll listen to some of the responses after the verdict.
I just want to say, I miss my son. My son didn't have to go through this. I didn't have to go through this either. It hurts. Really, really hurts. What are we going to do, people?
So he goes on to say that again. So essentially it was almost him repeating it. So I think we can all relate to his pain and his suffering. It's sad to see someone lose their life in this particular situation, in these particular circumstances, because of course the family is going to be empathetic, just like we are with our family members and our loved ones. We show a tremendous amount of empathy because we know the people, we're connected to the people that are part of our lives. So, it's just a very, very delicate situation that's going on here, and it's curious to see how it will escalate. So here we have BLM leader BLM leader after Daniel Penny was found not guilty. So we'll see what she has to say.
Because to be real, they didn't even try. Once the lesser charge was removed, they came back an hour later and said it was deadlock. Less than an hour and 20 minutes later, they said not guilty. These wonderful white people, I hope they celebrate their Christmas while the Neely family is praying and asking God for...
Okay, now, so here's the difference, right? And you have a jury, and it's a very difficult job. I just had jury duty myself back in March. But as I mentioned here before, I had the great opportunity to work in law for several years, to include the last part with the state. And, of course, there's always going to be those that agree and those who disagree, because that's just life. Even when it comes to law, as direct as our law is in the way our system works, for the most part, the jury typically in a standard courtroom, in an everyday regular style courtroom environment, typically do make the right decision based upon the evidence. And of course, if you have a competent judge and competent attorneys that aren't trying to lead or manipulate or coerce a jury, as we saw in the ridiculous lawfare against Donald Trump, that had far more evidence, or it was an illustration of an unfair courtroom. Absolutely, a novel situation. So she's just upset about the whole outcome, and that's the way it is, unfortunately. When it comes to these sorts of things, is there going to be a group of people that are going to be very happy and a group of people that are going to be very upset.
For comfort. Goddamn them and goddamn America.
All right. So, and yet the media still gives these people platforms. So who are we to suggest, other than give our opinions, our thoughts, if the media is going to give them a platform, then, they're going to say what they're going to say, and it's totally understandable. And so here's another incident, I guess, that happened right outside of the courthouse.
Wait, Joe, wait. All right, hold on. Get
So the individual here says the NYPD is already arresting BLM lunatics outside the courthouse where Daniel Penny was found innocent, or not guilty, innocent. This would never have happened in 2020 because BLM had free reign to do whatever they pleased, but not again. So, as we mentioned earlier, as a result of Donald Trump having won a landslide victory, essentially, it's all a matter of interpretation. I just say landslide for the sake of general information. The popular vote, the Electoral College, and then, of course, the GOP winning the House and Senate. I think it's fair to say that it is a landslide to an extent. We haven't seen a larger, the only other larger outcome of an election was in 1984 with Ronald Reagan. But what this individual is saying is what we have discussed too. Now that Donald Trump is in office, now that the American people have sent a mandate to Donald Trump, we're not going to see these groups as emboldened as they used to be. It just isn't going to be the same. Matter of fact, we saw that in Seattle as well. I had intended to share some of those videos, but you have to be very selective with it because of the way social media still works the same way, limiting what you can and can't show. But obviously BLM is going to be under much more scrutiny, and this is the way it should always be handled. As soon as these little incidents like this break out, you need to immediately address them. But like George was saying here, back in 2020, the media, the police, and others probably just would have just let it happen. So I guess they're detaining some of these individuals, or at least this one guy here. But he's right. Back in 2020, this would have just kept on going, and it would have kept on building, and there would have been many more protesters, and there would have been 200 and not just 2 people right here, probably. Okay, I think people get the idea here. So I don't know. So they're just, just a handful of people outside the courtroom protesting, and that's not unusual. But it certainly is a huge difference between the hundreds of people that would have been protesting, say, like back in 2020 during the George Floyd, during the Summer of Love, all these sorts of things. And, of course, as we talked about when it comes to the fairness of the courtrooms. And clearly, as I've mentioned here before, here on the BuzWeaver channel, as we have talked about, that, a jury must be unanimous. And yet here was Judge Merchan allowing for the jurors to make individual verdicts, to come up with individual verdicts. And it's just simply not how the system works. And it's absurd because the way this was all orchestrated and designed was so the media and the left could say, Donald Trump convicted felon. It was all for headlines. It was all for show. It was a facade, right? it was just absolutely absurd what all was happening. So I can understand the family not being very happy about what ended up happening in the Neely's father here, but it's unfortunate, an unfortunate situation, and I think the outcome was correct. Daniel Penny didn't have any intention or ill will or anything like that. Wasn't premeditated. He was trying to detain someone who was threatening other people on the train. But of course, I welcome your thoughts and opinions down in the comments section, always. And I want to thank all you guys across New Tech, as well as here on YouTube, for your guys' continued support here in 2024. Below the video, you can find the various social media links that I belong to. And of course, if you are a Prime member, I have my Amazon links down below, so you can just bookmark my landing page so you guys can place your orders there using that. And of course, it helps out the channel. And if you're interested in VPN, I have that down there with Trust Zone. But I want to thank all of you guys, because it's been an amazing 2024, and I'm very much looking forward to the inauguration. But nonetheless, guys, that's what I have for you today on this breaking news story. For all of you watching on YouTube right now, that'd be the channel icon appearing there on the screen, probably right next to our previous video on the individual that was involved in the shooting death in New York City of United Healthcare worker, Mr. Thompson. But nonetheless, guys, you can click on that to subscribe to the channel, as well as select notifications. That way you know when there's content here on the channel. And I'll see all you guys in the next video.